Good evening, folks. It's Pom from Pallatrax. My Sunday slot live feed on the main Pallatrax Facebook page. So if you don't know and you're a team member, it's on this page tonight, and then next week my live feed will be on the team page. So fingers crossed this is working. I always start a few little icons dropping in. The thing is now is, will the comments work? Because oh my lord, what have I pressed there? Star senders. So we're just going to wait and see if can anybody make a comment, and because if not, it's all going to go. There we go. Colin, good man. How you doing? James, Lee Jackson, Sue Graham. Looking forward to seeing you, Sue. Gary King, Terry Blake. I'll let a few names pop in. Names I recognise there. Anthony, how you doing? Matthew Rice. That prize you're not going to win. You've got more than enough gifts from Pom, Matthew Rice. Daniel, Dave, Adam. Nice fish I saw you with yesterday, Adam. Well done, sir. Good evening, Ian. How are you doing? Neil Oliver. Not long now, Neil. Laqui, here we go again. One of our team fishings. We're all off to Laqui on the 23rd, I think it is, of March. So we get there the week before. Yes, it's all going. We're making bait again today. I had the whole family out there helping me. You know, we always make our bait fresh. So, yeah, it's just been a bit of... I want to go fishing. I just can't get there. Neil, how you doing? Paul, good evening to you, sir, as well. So, if anybody's here who doesn't know, what we always do, and I'll start off with a couple of things. If you've got any questions, please just shout out, and hopefully I'll pick them up and I'll do my best to answer them. So it can be any questions. My time in the trade. I've been in the trade for 26 years. Obviously started Pallatrax from scratch with Tinny. What else have I done? Own fisheries, you know, consultative fisheries. Quite a lot of things I've done in the trade. Heidi Simmons. There's a blast from the past. Yeah, I wish Monksy was down here. Good old days. Heidi's partner, not husband, because they refuse to get married just because I want the cake. Yeah, Monksy was my right-hand man when I owned Paddington Lakes and ruled the roost down there. Good days. And we made a lot of bait together and caught a lot of fish together. Richard Ward, how are you doing? So I'm going to just switch the old camera around for a second to show you what is tonight's free to enter raffle prize. It's always about 30 quid's worth of goodies. So all you need to... Has my order been sent out yet? I haven't got a clue. Justin West, I will ask my dear wife, but everything's getting sent out as soon as possible, and all honesty, we're here on fire. I'll be lying if Tony Turner. So right, this is the free prize. All you got to do is send yes to the main Pallatrax. So this site that you're on now is Messenger. Just send yes to that and we'll pick it up and basically do a random draw at the end of it. Miss you, Pom. Miss you too, all of you lot. You've got to come down. The door's open. You're not late, Bob. I'm only just getting going. So I'll show you what you can win. There's the turny roundy thing. There we go. And so tonight, there's some of our made in the UK by Dear Jenny's rigs and a set of the Gripz in the straight points. What have I got there? 4, 6, 8 and 10. So yes, so that's up for grabs. All you got to do, as I say, is send yes to the Pallatrax Facebook Messenger page, and we'll draw that, and I'll do a bit for Galen all the way from Canada. I'm only joking, mate. Always great service. Well, we try, Lee. Well, they do. They're brilliant girls. Wayne Kester, another old Pallington man. Hopefully see you at some stage this year. And Steve Bryan. Right. Obviously, this is on the main page. So I do some things on the team page that you won't have seen. So well, I'm just going to show you some of the new products we've got coming out. I know the team members have been seeing them. I've actually now eventually got something on the floaters that I'm really pleased with. They're made for within the fish farming market. They're, you know, basically full of the right ingredients, minerals, etc., etc. They're not a dog biscuit, because obviously, though dog biscuits work, they're not for fish. And so they're coming out, and I love my surface fishing. And I'll show you these two, because what I'm going to do is put them in the tank, and so you can have a good look. And these are the new mollusk and spirulina pills. So I don't know if you can see those. I'll force them in the hand. Oh. So there we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put those ones, which are the spirulina ones, in that corner of that tank. And so at the end, you'll see what happens. And there's a load of uses. Again, all really, really good gear. All made for fish and fish friendly, fish safe. And we're putting these in our method mixes and our bags. You know, to be quite honest, it's all really, really down to everybody what they do with them. But they are actually, yes, again, all about the ingredients. So I'll put that in the other corner. So there's the mollusk one over there. And we do have these micro pills. So you've got an insect and a spirulina. Again, like I say, it is all about the ingredients. I have my own fish. We must look after them. We must look after the environment. So let's give them what they're going to benefit from. And to be fair, the quality's there for you to catch more fish. So there you go. So we'll watch those at the end to see how they get on. So we'll come back to them. Right. Where have I... Adam Kirk, Evening Palm, everyone knows you have a natural range of bait and stone, but is there anything new tackle or bait-wise in the pipeline? Cheers. My one time I'm around a rum and coke. Yes. I mean, these obviously new things have come out. I mean, where let me just turn it around so you can see my glorious face. It's a bit difficult, really, because it's I don't know, it's my mindset, I suppose, more than anything. I think, unfortunately, nowadays, the whole industry has got so complicated. Somebody coming into the sport, they really will struggle to... it's expensive, there's lots of different things, some good, some bad, some very ugly. With me, obviously, I'm just like you folks. I got parachuted into the industry by mistake. I wasn't born and bred into this industry, so to speak. Obviously, then own fisheries and tackle shops and all the bits and pieces I've done, both here and abroad. And so all I ever wanted to do was bring out a really holistic bait and terminal range, which was simple, which was easy to use, but focused on things that, to be quite honest, the industry hasn't been focusing on. What is the ingredients of the baits? What are they actually made of? You know, what are they going to do when you stick them in the water and things like that? So in answer to your question, Adam, obviously there's 5 new products there, as I say, with the pills, the mini pills and the premium floating carp pellets. I'm not going to change my line, you know, or... you know, of course, I'm looking... This is actually something I'll just show you. You know, I am looking at a non-gamma line. But not because it's going to be better than gamma. And I'll be the first to say it cannot be better than gamma because it's not irradiated. But if I can offer a good line cheaper, because gamma's expensive, it's a real premium thing. So things like that I'm looking at. But with the bait ranges, they will always keep... I mean, I'm like a mad scientist when it comes down to bait, to be fair. I want to... You know, look at me, I'm fishing, in my humble opinion, well, this is fact, because the best fishing line in the world, which is gamma, you know, because I've been to the factory, the science behind it, you can't argue with that. I'm fishing with a natural stone. That's all I'm using as an anchor point, so I'm using a fishing weight as definition to cast and hold my bait in position. And then obviously, you know, we swear by the Steam Link LQ rigs, the Gripz and things like that. So I'm not going to bring out loads of stuff just to sell. I could bring out loads of stuff, couldn't I? And I don't think it would be... I think it would be doing a disservice. The one area we will concentrate on is always the bait. So, you know, it's almost like the Stonze system gives us the gun and the bait is the bullet. And we want the best bullet on the day, and having not a massive, because you can get confused as well, but you know, I'd like to think I'm one of the folks in the last 20 years that's really pushed naturals back into our, we can't ignore naturals. And when I say naturals, I'm talking about pulses, like corn, like maggots, like worms. Okay, I own a bait company, but I would suggest you don't only fish with man-made baits. There's a lot more going on out there, and You know, we've seen it down here in my lakes at Ashmansworthy Pools. You know, people who have gone on to just cut the grains of sweet corn have caught when boilies haven't been working on that day. So you always need that flexibility. So in a nutshell, Adam, I will strive going forward to just keep on bringing out the best. I've got a different and totally transparent agenda. It's all about performance over profit. That will never change. But there will be other bait items without a shadow of a doubt. I mean, I've got a new Gripz predator hook coming out, which is very much for the Thai market, like, you know, the awesome top cats fishery. I'm working with them, but also it will work back here for catfish and other things. So there's plenty on the go, and obviously the new fishery keeps me going. But hopefully that answers your question. So, you know, it's a bit like how long is a piece of string. I definitely will be seeking to improve, and just blaze our own trail, I suppose. You know, I don't really get too much involved in the industry. No worries at all, Colin. We're here to serve. Right, where are we going? If I've missed anybody, Steve Baines, Steve Thompson, Anton, how you doing? Not long to Laquie, Larry. What we got? Literally went for news pills as I wrote that. There you go. But but again, you know, I'm not focusing on it other than the ingredients. The ingredients have got to be right, and if the ingredients are right for fish, then it's a case of how do you bring it to the party? How can we use it within the angler? I mean, for me, how I'm going to be using like the pills and the granule pills is in my method mixers, in my PVA bags. You know, a little mesh bag of those pills. And you'll see at the end of the evening here what they look like if you haven't already. And what other companies take the time and effort to show how to use their bait products? Thanks, Colin. Thing is, as a small company, I'm not here. There's no arrogance about Pallatrax. I actually hate arrogance in the fishing industry, or anything. To be fair, it's confidence, but arrogance is something different. But for us, it's always been a struggle because we're a disruptor. You know, we're saying you don't need to use a lump of lead, not because it's toxic, because that's obvious, but the fact is, why don't we be unobtrusive and use a natural weight instead of what the industries... I saw this week another company bringing out a whole range of new leads, and they're saying they're camouflage, but not to the fish they aren't. You know, camouflage is a human mindset, and you can still see it. Even when they say, oh, that's a camouflage lead, and it's like, well, what's it? And I'm not being funny here. I'm being actually straight down the line. So, because we couldn't really get in the magazines, we didn't have the deep pockets to do loads of filming and one thing or another. But in the last 2 years, we've had some excellent people join Pallatrax. The team, Pallatrax, has just grown and grown. It's over 3,000 now. And I'm just like you, and I just enjoy. I really, really get a buzz when people say, I've caught this fish on your gear, Pom. I mean, much more than me catching fish. I'd so like, and that's been one of our problems. So I say now I've got a great network all around me of really cool people helping. You know who you are. The team are really, really fantastically supportive. People like yourself, you know, you're interested. I'm trying to say to people, look, there's another way to shoot the gun and use a different gun and a different bullet and make sure it's all really, really the best quality. I mean, come on, honestly, I've been there before I got in this. You know, I never thought about what the man-made bait was. Was it good for the fish? Was it going to get a bite? Was it food? Why would they eat it? Okay, they might pick it up out of curiosity, but would they eat my freebies? Where are we anyway? So hopefully, yes, I appreciate that, Colin. And I'm always here. I'm always at the end of the phone or messenger. I'll always get back to people. And I think that's what we should do, in all honesty. Hi, Mark. That's the question. Why not use a stone? I think, again, Lee, the simple truth is it's so disruptive to an industry that's solely focused on using lead, and all the different, you know, it's kind of people say to me, about, you know, like a stone like that shape, I can cast like as far as a lead, or a man-made, you know, non-toxic, but it's still going to be man-made. So why not use an anchor point as something natural, something I can use, I can flavour, something I can use as a method feeder. So it's all about now the explanation of, you know, obviously all I can do is I'm not here to tell anybody how to fish. All I can do is draw people to the conclusions I've made. Okay, I've fished from, you know, since I was, you know, 5 or 6 or whatever, and I've had lots of experience, boats in this country, Bermuda, fly fishing, match fishing, all the kinds of things I've done. And one thing I do know is I don't know it all. Far from it. Every day's a school day. it's, sorry, I'm losing that. So going back to the stone, it just makes common sense to me. And because the industry won't ever agree, because they're selling lead, you know, they've built a system around a lead. If you think of all the systems out there, they're pretty much the same. You know, it's a barbed to barbless hook, it's whatever hook link. That's a whole other story. But where I am with hooks and rigs and things like that, I think it's a bit of a jumbly mess out there. But like I say, as long as people are enjoying it, as long as they're looking after the environment, fine. But I also want to catch more fish, and I think if you stay within, you know, the cul-de-sac of where we are at the moment in angling, you know, you can't expect to have better results. It's not something, you know, if you keep on going back every time doing the same thing and getting the same kind of results, I mean, they do say that's the first sign of madness. So one thing that has come apparent, you know, as we've been explaining, and like Galen and Dan and Sue and all these different people involved in backgrounds, we're explaining it on Instagram, explaining what we're doing. People are going, right. And actually get enthused because they go back and do it differently, you know, when we talk about the method mix and how we're making it and what we're making it from. So I think it's all very cool. Just quickly, if you haven't, that's tonight's raffle prize. All you have to do is send yes to the Pallatrax page, not the team page, the Pallatrax page here on Facebook. So if you want to win all those bunch of Gripz goodies, just ping yes through. With the stone, would you soak them? Yes, loads of us soak them. Again, the nice thing about that, Daniel, is they're porous, and some are even more porous than others. I think with the stones, you see, the trouble is there's a misinterpretation. So obviously that's not back from the industry, they don't work, they're rubbish and all that kind of stuff. Well, I think they're a bit naive to think that if you see the amount of fish we catch and you know, one thing or another. But what the stone does is gives us a host of different advantages. So instead of going in and looking at a selection of lead with all different weights, sizes, shapes and things like that, you do that to some extent with stones. So when people have said to me, oh, you can't cast a flat stone, well, I suggest you can't cast a flat lead or a non-toxic. I mean, because it's flat, it's for a specific reason. So when we use flat stones when we're fishing the river, because the water tends to shoot over the top of it. If we're fishing like on a ledge, so we don't want it to roll down. If we're fishing at distance, we fish around one and things like that. But the fact is, there is no comparison to a lead. You know, a lead will always be what it is. It's a man-made piece of metal, and unfortunately that metal is toxic. So it is what it is. But from an angling perspective, it's always going to be there. And it's the largest piece of your fishing tackle, terminal, and, you know, why the other companies camouflaging lead if they don't think there's an issue with it. There is an issue, and less is more. So the more I can scale down in my own fishing, and if people follow, that's fine, you know, because I certainly wasn't the first person to fish with a stone. But yeah, so you can flavour them, but the flavour needs to be a water-based flavour, okay, because if some people have tried it with oil, but oil will just sit around, water will ingress. So, but again, it's just another advantage, and I don't see how you can be dismissive of something which is obviously only factually an advantage. You know, no longer can I think in my head that the lead or the man-made weight is going to be negative. I don't even think about that because the stone is just a natural stone. So I'm actually fishing with something that gives me an advantage, not something that straight off gives me disadvantage because it's man-made, it's bulky, it's obtrusive. Because I'm afraid, I'm sorry, you know, I think it's wrong that it's promoted that if you camouflage a lead, the fish can't suddenly see it. It's not about what the fish see anyway, it's about what fish sense. But at the end of the day, it's just a weight. The industry's push. Said you need to use this for this, and you need it. Well, I don't think you do. I honestly don't think you do, but that's my opinion. And I say I'm not here to force those opinions. I'm quite happy to tell and explain, but people do what they do. Gary King, 30 plus carp and cats caught from the koi, all on your baits, terminal tackle and line. I've no complaints. Top man, Gary. Yeah, we'll be there soon. Thanks for that. Appreciate that. Danny, how you doing? When are you going to change your sign back to front, writing it's readable? I'm back. He's back. Yeah, I can read it. Makes it more interesting. Where are we? You can soak them in liquids and glugs and they porous. Yep. So Wayne, do you still sell barbed and barbless? No, Wayne, I don't. And for, you know, I've never really been a fan of barbed, in all honesty, for lots of different reasons. But you know, barbless has always, when I've had fish, my fish has always been barbless. Gripz is the next stage. You know, it's revolutionised how we're fishing. So I'm not going to settle something. And again, I don't want to come across as arrogant, because it's not. It's just my humble opinion. I don't want to sell something that I don't think is as good as Gripz, and I don't. And when you actually deep dive into hook manufacturing, which most people don't really know about, so they'll make a lot of assumptions around hook manufacturing. You know, mine's the best in the world kind of thing, but when you deep dive into it and you speak to the manufacturers, you visit the manufacturers of the international shows, you look at the different grades of wire and different things. I mean, so all I've done with everything, whether it's Steam Link, whether it's whatever, I've just gone out and tried to find the best possible. Best possible. So no, it's Gripz all the way for us, I'm afraid. Again, it stands us apart. So obviously, Stonze for me is a real technical advantage. When Matt's certainly caught us a few fish. Definitely soak them, longer the better. Any news on the inline version? In a nutshell, no. We're still working. It's a very, very difficult. When you're working with stone, it's very, very difficult, especially when you're looking at all the different. Almost, you know, different makeups of stone, different densities, all these things like that. And quite a lot of the team know, and you know, close friends and things like that. But you know, we don't make a lot of money on stones. It's impossible. You know, we collect them by hand from the quarry, grade them, clean them, bring them back to base, clean them again, shape them, as in like select shapes for different things, select sizes, and then you've got to do the work on it, which is very, very difficult to work with stone, like what we're doing. And then, you know, you've got to, you know, I've got stainless steel spring swivels, so non-toxic glue, so everything's handmade. So I suppose the irony is, well, I think personally, because when people have said to me before, "I can go and pick them off the beach," well, don't, because you'll get in trouble for that. But if you're going to use a stone, go to your garden centre, and you can even just get a blob of araldite and stick a swivel on. The trouble is, they will come off. It is a real, just a good tactical advantage. Or what's Gary? He's soaking his in bloodworm for France. There you go. Transform my river fishing the stones. Yes, Phil, I'm all with you there. And again, it's not because I'm trying to sell them, because I've just said to you, we don't really make any money when we see loads of stones. You know, we've got to make them all individually, glue them all individually. And but the fact is that we've brought to the party something that is a genuine advantage, and we're not taking the mickey, because if you look at it, I could say, right, let's just say a 3-ounce lead costs you, I don't know, £2 retail, something like that now, and then you look at a method feeder, so that's £5. Well, I've got, you know, my stone, which is a method feeder, and it's the weight, but more importantly, it's not there. So for the money we're charging them, I personally know they're a bargain. People won't agree with me, you go and try and make your own. It's not that easy. So yes, so going back, working with some stone, we've got some machinery we're trying, but in all honesty, I've just been so busy, it's on the back burner. But it definitely will be something, you know, that we'll get there. What better camouflage is there than a fishing gravel bar than a stone? Well, you know, like I say, a lot of people now, it's become common sense. They kind of like me, I started off, you know, fishing with all these big method feeders and one thing and another. And then you think, oh, I've never done that as a match angler. So, yes, where are we going? What blah, 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 is much stronger for the diameter than nearly all available lines. This is about, oh yeah, gamma, yeah, no, it's just different level. I'm not being funny. Yeah, anyway, like Lee is saying, that, you know, it's like people say to me, oh, I'm not going to fish stones and I've got no advantage. And what you've got to remember is it's about what a fish can sense, not what you can see. Very, very much differently. And, you know, like my lakes here, they're clay lakes. They're clay lined because, you know, we're not a gravel area. So it's not like we're going down into the water table and doing that. I mean, but if I didn't have stones within there, and there is tons of stones because we dug them, so I know exactly what's in there. It would just fall apart. You know, it wouldn't have anything to bind to the sides and things like that. So stones are everywhere. It's just a lump of natural, and we're just trying to, trick the fish. And obviously the non-toxicity element is very important to somebody, well, I think to all of us, but, should we be dropping lumps of lead into the substrate where within the substrate there is literally thousands of vertebrate species born and nothing can live on or around lead? So, it's pretty no-brainer for me, to be fair. But, can you make a video or do a stream about how to river fish with a stone? I can do, Carter. We're going to go and we're going to definitely do some more filming. We're on the Y later this year. I'm looking at doing some stuff on the 7 as well. So, yeah, I do apologise in many ways that, the focus is so much on carp fishing, and I love all kinds of fishing, and I know lots of people here love all kinds of fishing, but the trouble is, we have to go with where the majority is. So as much as I want to talk about my tench fishing or river fishing or predator fishing, I always get dragged back into the carp scene, and it's not that I'm not interested in the carp scene, I'm interested in it all, but if 95% of people want carp kind of orientated stuff, and that's really where we are in the market, it's very difficult. But no, I promise you, this year you'll see a lot coming from Pallatrax, and it's all going to be about the reasoning behind the designs. If you look at all the carpology films now, they've really lifted people because they're there to explain what it's all about, because it is a different system, it's a different approach, it's a totally different approach to the major brands, absolutely miles away, because we're very much focusing on the biology of the fish, the sensors, and all the different things that go on in the environment, where a lot of it out there, this is again my opinion, it's become very robotic, very confusing, and not focusing on areas that I was always taught to focus on, which is the last bit, whether it's the bait, whether it's the terminal tackle, whatever. So which bait? Multi amazing pom, no worries. Robert's out on the bank again. Hope you had it success. It's the Y fully booked pom. Can't seem to find it on the website. No, it's on the team exclusives, Stav. No, I'll be promoting that again next week, but there's definitely still places on that one. Where we go. Right, Daryl, first time. Sorry if I'm losing a few. Just go back to this. I'm going to be longer tonight, so if you want to stay, by all means do. But I haven't even started off what I was going to do. So if you want to win the raffle prize for tonight, it's a load of Gripz stuff, rigs and straight point grips, the revolutionary third hook design. All you got to do is send yes to Facebook Messenger here, so the Pallatrax Facebook Messenger. Right, sorry, Darryl, where are we? First time making live, I've moved over to Stonze for this year, and already I don't think I'll ever go back to leading my carp fishing. It just makes sense. Makes sense. Question for you. Well, to be honest, before I go on to the question, that's just where I am with it. It's nothing about making a shed load of money. It's nothing about telling people what they should be doing. I'm not saying I'm super intelligent. I know I'm not. But everything I'm saying is just common sense to me. So when people then realise there is no hidden agenda, it's just a transparent kind of way of looking, different way of looking at fish and fishing with a lot of evidence to back it up. I mean, it is very common sense. Right, I'm off to the Queen. June, do you reckon 10 for a rod? No. Try to pack line and always use 10s, but it's my first France trip and don't want to go unprepared. No, definitely not. Definitely not. Some of it's real long chuck there, so you're going to need your 12 footers. I personally, and it's on record, I'm not a massive fan of short rods because of the change in actions. Rods were 12 foot for donkey forever's kind of thing for a reason, because they got to a level. Now we've had all these, some of these rods are really, really short for carp fishing, and I do worry as a fishery owner and an owner of fish. You've got 3.5 pound test curve, 8 foot rods, and there's not a lot of movement, not a lot of the whole action's changed. But each to their own, and there's no proof they're a problem. But where they can be a problem is casting, without a shadow of doubt. And again, if you go back to where they came from, when I think first time I really saw them was with Chub. I don't know if Chub's still going actually. They got bought with JRC and things like that. But when Chubb, they bought out a 9 foot stalker, because I had it in my first tackle shop, and that was the first time I ever saw a stalking rod. And that's what these shorter rods were for. They were designed to be stalking rods, poking through little things and things like that. But obviously the industry's grabbed them and gone with them and things like that. But I'd just be very careful. There's a massive difference between a 10 foot and a 12 foot when you're casting, without shadow of a doubt. Because I've tried, and so I definitely recommend using your 12 footers over in Lequois, because as I say, some of it is a good hoof, and if you can't get to where the fish are, well, you're on the back foot, aren't you? So let me carry on. Oh, nothing today, and that's not good. Yeah, Gary's saying, fine, there we go. Okay, I'll be staying till the end. Right, so what I was going to show you, most people within Team Pallatrax know that I fish on a rig called the LQ rig. I've got to that stage in my fishing journey where the inconsistencies with rigs are so confusing. What is a Ronnie rig? What one person's interpretation of a name can potentially be totally different. No worries, Darryl. I'm always here to help, mate, and I promise you that's all. People used to help me. I'm 57. I know I look so much younger than that. The big part of Team Pallatrax is all about trying to help each other and being positive about fishing and things like that. So no, it's never a problem. Now, there's one rig I do fish, and it's so simple. It's such a simple way. So I was going to show you how and why I fish with it. Now, the first thing I'm going to do, I will turn the old camera around. Yes, Vince, you know the truth, Vince. You know the truth. Right, all I'm going to do firstly, just so I can get it going, is I'm going to make up a bit of... I never even consider short. No, I haven't, to be fair, Wayne, but each to their own. Like I say, loads of people buy them nowadays, and they seem to be very happy. I never look as young as him. I'll never look as bald as him. When you're getting married, Heidi, stop mucking around. So, I'm just going to make, because this is a big part of my attack. Most people know, I don't think you can beat the method, as long as you understand what the ingredients are all about. So this is the Daphnia maggot. So I'm just going to make up a little bit here, because I just want to show you how and why I fish very, very successfully into weed. So what else shall I add to my little method mix? Well, it's all loads and loads and loads of... I fish a lot of small oils. We've been testing off the trail. Yeah, no, like I say, each to their own. If you're fishing in small water and you're comfortable with it, go for it. Insect microscope. Put some of that in there. And then the last thing I'll do for this mix is I'm going to add some of my favourite, which is a gamma shrimp. And the reason I add this, it's a natural additive which will aid my method mix to break down. So the more you put in, the more your method will basically break down. So just bear with me while I make this. I was going to make it up beforehand, and then I thought, well, no, best to explain. But again, when people say method mix, it's like saying a pie is made out of pie. What is your method mix made out of? Because it's not a name. It's it's just a generic term for a strategy, a baiting tactic, or whatever, however you want to look at it. It's all about the ingredients, and it's something that does, as a fishery owner, does kind of frustrate me, because I think it should be promoted a lot more. Should we be using some of the things like trout pellet? Should we be using trout and halibut pellet, which is for fish with stomachs, not digestive tracts? Different oil contents, totally different ingredients. I mean, like I say, I've kind of seen some sites over the years which I just can't agree, and by not agreeing, it's obviously made me a little bit of a pariah, but I'd rather be truthful than anything else. So there's a bit of method mix, so we're going to leave that bubbling away. The best way to make a method mix up is make it slightly damp and then leave it for 20 minutes, half an hour, because you can always add a little bit more water to it, it will suck in. The water will eventually go through all the tiny little particles and things like that, and then you'll really gauge your method mix. I'm not saying it's an easy thing to do from off the bat, but once you get used to it, it's like riding a bike. But ultimately, it's like when people say to me, I fish PVA bags. you know, PVA bag is a tactic, like method is a tactic, but what's in your PVA bag is the key. Does that make sense? Yes, there you go. Look at that old stuff. Did you know bought it as a thing? What are you on about? What are you on about, Wayne? I first attempted method, no clue. Oh, right, yeah, old days. Make sure some of that available to buy on Tuesday. Always a fan of natural baits. Is that you, Monksy, really? When you kind of visit Pom? Right, anyway. So we're going to leave that there. And this is a rig which hopefully... This is a peacock, yeah. Sometimes I do feel like that. This rig has caught me, especially places like Horseshoe, some phenomenal fish. And some people will go, oi, that's a bit, it's a bit different kind of thing from what, but this is the rig I fish in weed. Okay. So, what I've got here is just some of our 15-pound sinking braid. Let me take that off. And this is such an easy rig to make. So I'll show you this, the component parts. Has anyone used dried mealworms in their mix? Yeah, we use mealworm, to be fair, in the base mix of multiworm. So how this wonderful piece of material here works, that Matt Rice made for me. Hair loop, so I know if I go from there, hopefully you can see this, to that, that's how much. It's always a challenge making rigs with this kind of setup, because I can't see really, that's the trouble. This is the bit that gets me nowadays as I've got older and older, putting the hair loop in. What I'm going to do is I'm going to do this up close, folks, so I'll just take it out of camera for a second, because I can't see that far away. Oh, this age thing. I can't believe I'm getting this old. The trouble is I still feel like I did when I was in Bermuda, running around at 22 on my motorbike and in my boat. But there we go. So I've got my hair loop. So just simple braid. Obviously there's loads of different braids on the market. The trouble is with braid, what you've got to be very careful of, some of it can be too fine. And that's when a lot of people talk about mouth damage. When mouth damage is actually done, a lot of the time, where the scissor is basically cheese wired by a really thin piece of braid, basically, and it just cuts in. It's actually not, as many people think, just down to the hook. The majority of it is actually down to cheese wiring, especially if you're using overgun kit. So 2 10mm of my little favourite squab jungles, tied up peanut and clove. So right, what I need now is, bear with me folks, don't ask any questions at the moment, I get all confused. Just going back to the question there about from Neil, you know, this natural food source, if you look at it, you know, you drill down again into, I suppose, what the ingredients are of it, you know, the nutritional value, the protein content, where they're used and other things. So much of this stuff is really good. You know, to use as, and to be quite honest, you know, it leaves it open for you to, oh, where's my size? All right. So just quickly, actually, I've got 2 here. I'm just going to do the one that we use from the Carp if I'm going to Horseshoe, which is size 8 wide gape. I really, really do suggest you use that wide gape. But when I'm fishing for tench, because this is a great way to catch tench, and Monksy, you will know this, caught loads of tench at Horseshoe in the old days. And Monksy used to fish this rig, actually. In fact, he's on here this evening, pretty much religiously, didn't you, Mark? And you can't deny your results, especially that trip to France. So I've taken that off. You may or may not know how to make rigs, but always working through the back. So bringing that through. Now, a lot of people will talk, and there's lots of different talk about hair length and things like that. And I think it's really interesting because I've always been a great believer. Again, it's about consistency. And I'm not saying if you were sitting opposite me catching loads of fish on a really long hair, I'd ignore it, because I wouldn't. But I tend to fish short hairs, because all other areas of fishing I've ever done, whether it's my boats or fly fishing or whatever, the bait and the hook is one and the same pretty much. And I've seen a lot of underfishing, you know, the Dutch channel, of how many times fish are picking up long hair and they don't even get the hook in there, and it's gone. So yeah, that's me, and each to their own. So all I do is keep that nice and tight, make sure I've got the length of hair I want, and then all I'm going to do is you always go round the back. So you're working around the back. Oh, this is a challenge. I need more glasses. So there we go. So I've pretty much gone, if you see that, that's how far I go down. So my braid is now opposite the point of the Gripz. Okay. And so then to finish off the knot, this knot is literally just a case of putting that back through the back. So you always work around the back, and hey presto. And in all honesty, that is pretty much how the hair rig was kind of invented, using this kind of material, Dacron, things like that. But it was, you know, very, very basic. So what I do, and I do this for two reasons. Solar baiting needle, I know, it's like fortune, isn't it? And this stuff, I honestly, again, I've gone out my way to find what I believe is the best shrink tube. So when I'm using this, I'm going to put a kicker on here. So what I do is I'll push that over there. So now you can see that the end of the shrink is opposite the point. Okay. And so therefore, so this half, I'll do the next half as well, if that makes sense. So I'm going to cut that. Give me shaky hands there. And so then this will go through. I've got a hook stuck in me now. They are sticky. So that will go through into there. Oh, look at it. I can't even see the shrink now. Oh, it's falling apart. There we go. Right, so rig length, when I'm doing this tactic, because it's the only time, like I say, so size 8 swivel, I really change away from the LQ rig. That's not to say, like I say, if I'm fishing with somebody else and they're fishing a different rig and being more successful, I'll be the first to swap. But in all honesty, I've never been able to beat the LQ rig for consistency. So all I'm going to do now is I'm going to put my hook through that little, and I just want this to be 4 inches. So I'm going to take that down there. Fold this over, put my swivel on, and then to finish this off with this rig, I want some movement. So I'm actually just going to do this with a figure of 8. Some people go, figure of 8, that's old school. Well, it is old school and it works. It's a very good knot. A lot of these new knots are a bit confusing for an old fella like me. So just your size 8, swivel, pull down. And so that is actually free moving, not like my LQ rig, which is a stiffer system altogether. Take off your tag line. Right, the only thing I need to find now is a shot for pop-ups. So, but actually, whilst I'm waiting for that, so again, yeah, lovely little tench baits. Single one of those, you know, really highly flavoured. So hang on a sec, where are we? Pop-ups offers I do close to a hook, a bit more space for bottom baits. Hi Les, never a problem. I use simple hair rig for bottom baits and wafters, so change the key wasn't much of a change to be honest, but the shrink close aid is hooking better. That's fantastic. Where are we? Vince keeps his to the close. Figure 8 the best, Sealy. Good man. Can I have that rig when you've made it, please? Mark Wallace. You send me your address, Mark, to Simon Pomeroy's Facebook page, and I will, because you had the audacity to ask. So what I'm going to do now, so there's my method mix all looking really nice. I'm going to boil a kettle, or Tinny, my assistant, is going to boil a kettle. So what I'll do then is I will put this into a kicker. So I'll shape that how I want it shaped, and then I'll still put my little, you know, non-toxic shot on here as a counterbalance. Even though it's a bit of a strange one, this one, because I'll explain in a minute. Let me just get my kettle going, folks. Whenever you're using, obviously, heat, saying the obvious, do make sure that you don't burn yourself. But when you just try and move this up a bit, folks. How can we get a better sound doing this kind of stuff? So always make sure you have a kind of really tight spout, because to be honest, you know, if you've got a wider spout, it doesn't shrink it down so well, if that makes sense. So I'm up to speed there. So again, let me just try and show you. So I'm just going to push that down so it's half and half. Then I'm going to keep this. I'm going to keep that firm, all right, because I'm actually going to pull that round. Oh, let me just get this. Always a challenge. As I say, do be careful and don't get it too close. But this stuff is pretty amazing, you know, in truth. So now I've got my kicker there. I'll just get rid of the kettle and everything. There we go. Might not be off. Not too sure. So. Going back, and say I'm going to put that, and I always do it, it probably doesn't make any difference whatsoever, but I always put the thinner end, and I'm literally going to close that over there. Alright, so it's actually a tiny little, simple as you like. Let me try and get it in focus. There we go. No, rig. Very, very simple. Obviously, you know, that shrink kicker, oh that's better, you can see it now, that shrink kicker there, really neat, really tidy, and I promise you that has caught me so many fish by doing this, the next stage. So let me just move all this stuff out. So where's my bit of fishing line gone? I have, now I've lost that. Stand by, folks. I'll get another bit here. Oh, I need a much better. I mean, I do like doing these things, especially if people actually enjoy. But I think the time's going to come, not too far, to get something a bit better, because I've got stuff all over my dining room table here. So I'm just getting a bit of main line here, folks, so I can show you exactly how I set this up. So all I need is a stone. Kelly, how you doing? Need to see you soon. Come and have a cup of tea with us. So Mark says, can you hear the rig? So you send me your address. Andre, how you doing? All the way from Slovakia. I know Tinny's sending you an email back tonight, mate, so we'll speak soon as well. We'll organise a call. How do you talk? Yes, I can do, Richard. I can definitely do that. I love my big perch. I was going to go loads of big perch fishing on prawns this year, and it's all gone horribly wrong because I've just been so busy. Yeah, I mean, James, I honestly went out. You won't believe how many different shrimp tubes there are, and I wanted the best because because I do. So I thread that onto my main line, and then I'll put one of our little buffer beads, and that will go there, and then I'll just tie my rig on, and that's basically how I'm fishing. So as little as possible. I know I've got a consistent trap. I know, there's a load of different variables that go on within fishing, but like I say, if you agree with me that is nothing but a stone, and I'm using it now as a method feeder and as a general weight. And say when I'm method feeding especially, I do like them to be flavoured. Oh, something there. That's interesting. I don't know how I've managed to. Oh, there we go. So then you just pull your buffer bead over, and then so I'm fishing running. I'm fishing a tight line, and the next stage is. People have seen this before, especially on the team talks and the carpology films and things like this. But this is what I tend to use when I'm fishing lakes like Horseshoe or Gold Lakes, some of these really, really weedy lakes. Now, we'll talk about weedy lakes, because a lot of people I know actually fear weedy lakes. And what I would say is, now I've got a cat next to me, what I would say is, that's where they live. They live in the weed. All of the, like substrate life forms come through the weed. So I don't fish in really thick weed, because I think that's dangerous. I think that's the wrong thing to do. But, in a reasonable weed conditions, I actually like fishing straight into the weed. So what is the best way of fishing into it? And I believe, after all the years, this is the best way. Now, so what I'll do then is I'll just push that shot into the bottom, and then really pack that down. So I've got like a hand grenade full of goodies. This is all good stuff, okay? Impossible to tangle because of the way it's set up. And so basically that would go straight out into the weed bed. And let me just try and show you what's going to happen. And then we'll leave it for a bit. So the thing is, I suppose the real interesting thing is that what on earth must that look like in a weed bed? And I honestly believe the reason it works is, let me just try and zoom in here. Sorry, I know I've missed some questions, but so, there we go. So, I don't believe for a minute. So I believe in all the diving and stuff I've done, what happens is this goes into the weed, the fish are actually just swimming through that weed, and they suddenly come across just this ball. It cannot be presented nicely, it is what it is, but they come back, and also I think when it goes in, as it's coming down, going down through, it's actually leaving a trail of all these bits and pieces, so it's something that the fish can home in on. But the most important thing here again is, when people say they fish the method, make sure whatever method mix you're using is good, because you want it to be attractive, you want it to do all the kind of positive things. Just because you fish the method, if you're fishing a method that has got no food source to it, yes, I'm not saying it won't attract, but it's not food. So are you not better off using food in your bait? These pop-ups, they're classed as a lure. They have to be, because A, they're on the hair, so it's impossible for the fish to eat them, and B, they've got 99.9% of baits, unless you make them yourself, pop-ups, like a corkboard pop-up with fresh paste and, mimicking the hook, the freebies. These will always be a lure, and that's just a fact. Some people might think different, but that's the truth. Right, let me come back to my screen. Here's my opinion. Gary's saying the rig is still one of the best, if not the best fish to use, in my opinion. Simple, straightforward, nothing fancy, caught me many fish. Exactly. Milk and 2 sugars, you dream. Yeah, come on, Kelly, come and see us. You're housebound on crutches. Oh my lord. I won't say on here what I'm thinking. Get well soon, Kelly. I'll get Tins to give you a tinkle. Horseshoe in the summer. Yes, Sue, exactly. I love fishing the weed or on the edge of thick weed. It's a deadly tactic in weed, that's for sure. And it is. I mean, like I say, it must go against kind of everything that, the industry kind of promotes. But what we do know is it's not an assumption that's going to go into a big ball of weed, and we've dived on it and seen it, and it does. It just, you follow your line and you go into the weed and it's just in there. And I think I've really first, years ago, one of the first French slates I fished, it was really, really, difficult going. And I invested, I'll just leave that and come back to it. Wait, just turn round so I can be more visual. And I actually went and bought a lilo because I wanted to paddle out. It was really hot and things like that. And I paddled out, and there was these big weed beds, like proper big weed beds, nothing around them, and the fish were literally heads down, tails sticking up, and that's how they were. They were in that, and that's the first time that I thought, I should be fishing in this weed. I don't want to be fishing it in the barren kind of areas all around it. And then you think, oh, it's going to look awful. It's going to do this. Well, no. If it was pigeons and I was shooting them, go to the tree. Don't expect them to ever come to me. So, no worries, Freddie. We're still here. Oh, look handsome. I know, Kelly. I know. You're not the first to say that. So that tactic, fished into weed, has just caught me so many fish, and some really big fish at Horseshoe, because Horseshoe's not a walk in the park. Lots of weed, the fish are in there. I think, again, if you look at it, I mean, if you look, we'll just use Horseshoe as a great example. So Summer Bay, very, very clear water, 4.5, 5 foot max, gravel, so obviously the stones are a perfect fit as well. But you'll see these clear patches, and you'll see lots of anglers like leading around trying to find a clear patch and things like that. And it's like, well, why? You know, there's the assumption, oh, it's a clear patch because the fish have been on there and hoovered up bait and, you know, yada yada. But in truth, you know, that's actually a sterile, there's nothing there. If there's no weed growing on it, there's nothing there. Not in the profusion that you can get within the weed beds. So it's understandable why my method mix is all breaking up here. It's quite cool. Clive, no, he's given up fishing, unfortunately, Wayne. No, a long time ago. It's a bit of a sad story there, but we won't go on there. But what safe height of weed is recommended? But it's not really about the height, Neil. It's more about the density of it. If it's really thick weed, you know, I don't believe. You know, I think it's one of these excuses that some of these companies have used, saying, "Oh, you've got to drop lead in weed and things like that." And it's like, I've never. I fish obviously a light stone, but if you're fishing, I would suggest, in my humble opinion, if you're fishing in weed where you believe for fish safety you have to drop the lead, don't fish there. It's a bit like snag fishing. If you're fishing something that could compromise the fish's safety, well, should you really be doing it? So when it comes to weed, it's not about not wrong, Matt. It's always about that really, if it's really dense and thick. I mean, and we saw that in years gone by where people were stupidly fishing Summer Bay in the old days when it used to get really, really thick wind. It shouldn't, and they were dragging fish through this weed. Fish were losing in the weed, they were bunching up in the weed and things like that. But it's nowhere near as heavy as now. But if it's a really thick, where I wouldn't suggest fishing in there. Even though the fish will be in there, to them it doesn't matter. It's like a forest, isn't it? It's like a field with a tree in the middle of it. Everything's on that tree. Yeah, things might scamper around the field, but it's always they kind of home in on that weed, and it's the reason is it's just because it's full of food. It's just full of food. And also, when you're looking out, you've got your polarizers on, your binos, and you're looking at these clear patches, you never ever see a fish on them, or I haven't. I'm not saying I haven't seen one whiz across, but they never kind of whereas you see some of these drone footage now of these fish just sitting in weed. So weed's not to be afraid of. Weed can be your friend without a shadow of a doubt. It doesn't scare me at all. Whereas when I'm fishing this system, and I can only say that because I've fished it so many times over the years in weed, both back here, both in the UK and in other venues, and it just works. I'm sure because it's all compacted. It's not going to be human-wise nicely presented, but it's just basically a big blob of food within the weed. And because they're in the weed, is it that their guards dropped? So happy Easter. Is it Easter, yeah? Where's my egg then, Lee? Brendan, how you doing, mate? Hope you're well. Good to see you ice fishing. Brendan's the brother of Dan over in Canada. Fine people. Just a final plug. So, oh no, the camera's on me, isn't it? So this is the last calling, and then Tinny will be doing it. If you want to enter the raffle that we're running on the live feed, as I do every live feed, just send yes to the Pallatrax Facebook page messenger thingy job. Not very technical. Good to see you, Brendan. Mostly I fish in the weed and haven't blanked in over 3 years. Well, there you go, Vince. You know. It's honestly, it's so many people I know go, well, I'm not going to fish over there, it's too weedy. And you think, yeah, but the fish are in there. And the reason they're in there is because it's cover, because it's full of their food. And how they eat, again, it must be because we've never ever had that, and I don't think we have today, that ability to watch fish, different species and individual fish as well, I suppose, to watch them actually feeding in the weed. Because it must be crazy how these fish, get caught on that system. Fish a lake at Swede with a little bit of water. Oh dear me. Seen some of them as well. And the nice thing here at my lakes here, that they are definitely weed free, because we can cause you a load of problems as well. Lee Kelly to win the raffle. Well, Tinny's just walked in, so we'll see. Do those little baits come as wafters? I've only seen pop-ups on the website. No, they're only... I mean, if you want to make them into wafters, all you've got to do is cut them down in size, to be fair, or balance them. I mean, but I fish them as these pop-ups in the weed. I want them to basically be doing what they are. I've got nothing against wafters. I get asked to them, but it's again, when you deep dive into some of this stuff, it's not right for Pallatrax at the moment. There's other things I really want to focus on. But so no, those little fellas, the little 10mm squabs, they're only in like a pop-up version. Brendan, we fished in the weeds while ice fishing, had a great time. Didn't get quantity, but we did get quality of fish. Yeah, well, like I say, it's just their natural environment. Why would they live on the open plain when there's an oasis over there full of grubbins and they can hide? It's really, really... So that rig, so what I'll do now is I'll just poke this around because it's really started to... Hang on. Let me just turn it round. Right. Oh, got a bit carried away there. So obviously all the gamma shrimp, that's all floating off and around and drawing stuff out. And then I've just got, and so you can see it's just a stone, and that is sat in that pile. And the nice thing is, we know all of this is grubbins. That's the main thing. If you're using something which is breadcrumb and a bit of dust and things like that, well, just because it's called a method mix, it doesn't mean it's a quality method mix. And what I also like about the method mix is when you get small fish about, it keeps on working. It's not going to fill a fish up, but it's all about that attractant. And that's really, when you're fishing on the open plain more so than what it's actually doing within the weed, because it's very difficult to suss out what it's doing in the weed. So I wouldn't be confident, you see, if that was a great big lump of lead, because I can see that bead and swivel. Still not happy, because if I can see it, they can sense it. But in all honesty, compared to a lot of stuff out there, that's pretty, getting rid of that, which is the lead or the feeder. The feeders are huge things, aren't they, if you think about it. I've just got a stone there. So really, if you are with me, because this is where I come from, that is just a stone doing the job of a method feeder in this instance. You can see why I'm so much more confident than having a great big lump of lead and plastic right next to my baits, and that's why I can fish like that. So have you got any questions on that? Because I promise you, I know it all looks very simple, but sometimes less is more. And I think we're very much in danger of, say, forgetting what the ingredients are, and also falling into a trap where we're over-engineering, we're over-complicating. And once you do that, you end up losing consistency and things like that. And I say it's always been one for me, especially since I had my fish kill, which we definitely put down to, problematic bait ingredients, a bit like trout pellet and things like that. Anglers don't know it's not the right thing, so they use it, so it's, that's not their fault. But fisheries allowing all this stuff to go in there. Hi, Nicholas. Yeah, it does beg a belief, but I suppose, did I only know because I ended up in this big fish kill? Because I just thought everything had to be good, had to be regulated. And don't get me wrong, there's some very good bait companies out there, but I've focused, I look at what we're doing, it's all about a biomass food source. So if you make it the best quality, it's going to be positive to the environment, it's going to fertilise the invertebrate life and do all those kind of things. So yeah, do make sure, because hard-earned cash going on something that has got very poor ingredients is not fair to you, and it's not really fair to the water quality, because water quality is the air they breathe as such. Gary's saying carp fishing today is all about overly complicated rigs and baits, sadly. I have to agree with you, Gary. I'm not being negative, because I say all I want to do is be positive about fishing. People go out, enjoy. It's great for mental health. It's great for camaraderie. All these different positives from it. But I do think we're in danger of losing the old kind of ways of fishing, and they never broke. They never broke. It's just that, obviously owning 2 tackle shops, I've got a different kind of a view of some of the products that are on the market. You don't need all this complicated stuff. I think, it's it actually detracts from the core of core of fishing to me. Simple, good quality baits, good quality sharp hook. But most of it comes down to, at the end of the day, watercraft. If you stick it in front of a fish, you've got half a chance. If you sit at the other end of the lake or or river or whatever venue you're at, and there's no fish, you need to move to them. You need to, but the trouble is we take so much stuff fishing nowadays, it's not that easy, is it? But the truth of the matter is, if you can get in front of fish and get them in that feeding spell, on these systems, the way I fish, it's just common sense why it works. Because like I say, let's just go back to this again. Hopefully, I know tank tests are false, but hopefully you can see what I'm on about. Like I say, that is not man-made. That is a little swivel and that bead and that bit of stuff hidden underneath there and that piece of line. So they can sense that. They have the ability, especially when they're really cautious. You think, why do these massive fish only come out once or twice a year when they're the biggest fish in the venue? So therefore they must be eating the most, and why aren't they getting caught? And these fish are so savvy after a while. So this is all I can do. I can use as little as possible, and that is the key a lot of time, is to change the bait like you do in all other areas of fishing. People say to me, can I have 50 kilos of jungle for this year? I'll be the first to say, do you really need that much, to be fair, because of the nutritional value? But also, you've got no change-up bait. So it's like would a match angler only go fishing with sweet corn and expect to be top of the game? I would suggest not. What's Lee saying? I love fishing in the weed, and most people on the place, yeah, they do. You go back to the old school times when when we were tench fishing, we'd go in there the night before the swim, we'd get a rake and we'd rake it all up and go right in there, and because all the food was in there, and then they'd rake up the substrate and allow the tench to get easier access to all these different invertebrates. So don't be afraid, but by using that rig, because as long as I say, don't you do it in stupid weed, that would be wrong on loads of levels, but on just a normal weed where most people go, I don't like fishing that, don't embrace it, because that's where they are. Right, there we go. I fish. Do you have those little baits? Sorry, now we're going. We fished in weeds while I was fishing, so I've done that. What's Ryan saying? Greed to gimmicks out there. Well, it's up to people what they spend their money on, I suppose. But the trouble is, because I'm in the trade and I know where stuff comes from and how much it costs and things like that, some of it I can't agree with. I'm an angler at heart. The fact that I'm involved in the trade is irrelevant. And if you're paying £50 for something that's cost £3 to make, I don't think that's fair. Shelf life of freezer baits and why? Again, Adam, it's all about the ingredients, mate. The irony is, I've been knocking around this for over a quarter of a century now, and what does that mean? Again, it's like saying pie's pie, and it's therefore made of pie. So it's like saying a freezer bait. Well, but it's only down to what it's made of, and a shelf life bait is only down to what it's made of. Now, I can't get the nutritional value and the kind of stuff I want, like the insects and all these kind of things, into something that is a shelf life, because that will have to contain some kind of preservative. Okay. Now there'll be people out there saying having a different tale. All I can say, I'm entitled to a different opinion, being a fishery owner. Because I don't want stuff going in there that might not be good for the environment, water quality, general biomass. So I find it quite strange when some fisheries go, you can only fish freezer baits here. I've known shelf life baits being frozen in that company's freezer baits, so it's just a shelf life bait that's cold. So, you really need to, whenever you're thinking personally, whenever I'm looking at bait, I'm always looking at what it's made from. So whether it's a freezer or a shelf life bait, it needs to be made something that is kind of holistic towards, you know, the biology of a fish. You want it to eat it. You want it to come back. I believe that's why, like Jungle, all the years I was at Paddington, was still catching when we left. Because it's just, you know, it's designed to be food. And, you know, you think about a bait that's got no food value, okay? You will always catch fish, not necessarily many. And I would say it drops rapidly as well when they get used to it. But it's not food. So it's a bit like plastic sweet corn, isn't it? You know, loads of fish get caught on plastic sweet corn because they're curious, they'll pick up things, yada yada. But when you look at a shelf life bait that's on the hair, that's exactly the same as if it's just a bland one of these flour and synthetic nasty things. Looks nice, smells nice kind of thing, but isn't food in any way, shape or form. So you're fishing on something that's out and out lure, because it's got no food value. And then all the freebies you're putting out, you're just chucking out a load of lures. But the fish, and I saw this in particular at Paddington with one particular company, were bringing out lots of different baits, and this one bait came onto the fishery and it caught a lot of fish. But then within like 2 weeks, it just went like that. And all I could say, all I could put it down to was the fact is it had no food content and the fish just learned, I'm not going to eat that. It's like me, I've said 1,000 times, if I had a nice apple and it all looked and smelt rosy and nice and I gave it to you and you took a chunk out of it and you realised it was wax, you wouldn't go back and eat it straight away again. You'd always be having, you know, on the back foot. So if a bait has no food value, why are you expecting it to eat? And what's even worse from my perspective, I've talked to fisheries when they've dropped fisheries and they say it's like hundreds of thousands because they've got all of these shelf life baits that are made from, you know, basically, you know, it is flour, you know, bread flour, flavours and dyes and things like that. I say it looks as part, smells apart and things like that, but because it's not food, and this is where I think I have my problem, is it just sits there rotting. So not only does it complicate the water course, as in the dissolved oxygen and all the different things that are going on, so it's again all about the ingredients. So whatever bait you decide to use, I think you should be able to phone up that company and be assured that it has been designed for fish to feed on, to eat and to carry on eating. Because if not, you are only then fishing on a lure, and when you fish on a lure, you should only be fishing on the lure. You shouldn't be chucking a load of lures in there out there, because that's what it is really. Does that make sense? Hopefully. So Adam, yeah, it's a difficult one. I only do freezer baits because I can pack into that so much more that is so much better that I could never put into a shelf life bait, especially dead insects. What size hook and pat would you suggest for tent? Where was that? Oh. This, without shadow of a doubt, the size 10 wide gate Gripz. Absolutely swear by them. Absolutely. You've got a slight in-turn beak, so you know the more the fish struggles, the more the beak will turn it like a circle hook. Yeah, they're just perfect, and that's what I've caught so many tents. You know, tents are actually one of my favourite species, and probably my best. And some of the hits I've had at places like Farriers or Horseshoe, you know, we're talking big hits of fish. It's always been on that hook. I swear by it. I swear by it. 100% the older fish, of course. That's exactly, Nicholas. They have to be, don't they? They have to be, because they're not getting caught all the time. And then you start seeing things. And, you know, again, not without banging our own drum, we've caught a lot of fish on these kind of tactics that I can remember exactly that tactic there. I went to fish at Horseshoe. First fish I had out was Casper, which hardly ever comes out, and then we then fished a competition. It was a Marines versus the Navy competition, and me and the guy I was fishing with, we fished that system into weed in an unfancy peg. We won the competition. We actually caught more fish than all of the Navy anglers caught together. And it's because of, not because we're great anglers or anything like that, we were tactically fishing really good into that weed. So, Heidi, what's Heidi saying? Was that something about a wedding? Never failed to catch any fish on Pallatrax. Yeah. Like I say, old Monksy used to catch more than he'd shake a hairy stick at. Shelf life bait has preservatives, unfortunately. Yeah, well, like I say, but it's not just that, because you can eat things with preservatives, as we know as humans. So the fact is, you can't put in really great ingredients. You just can't put in the same quality of ingredients like you can within a freezer bait. Look at multiworm. So it's got mealworm, earthworm, and silkworm. Silkworm's really full of bacteria and things like that. If you leave it out, it goes straight away. So the only way I can stabilise that within a shelf life bait is really fill it up with a mold inhibitor of some sort. And what do you end up with? Because you don't end up with what I think is a good food, or you won't. I mean, it'll just be full of synthetic. And the fact is, you can see these baits. If you get a glass of water and put a few baits in there, and if you go back a week later and they're still solid as they when they went in, you will see them. These really poor baits, you'll see they look shiny, so they look actually quite nice. And it's actually the mold inhibitor is sitting on the outside of the membrane. So what happens is no water can go in there. So nothing that's actually in, if there is anything inside the bait, can't then come out, basically. So, but you don't look that old. Adam, this is what I was getting at. I know you don't like preservatives, so what separates Pallatrax from the others? Okay, yeah, fair. I'm not making angling bait. That's in a nutshell. I'm making a biomass food source, because I worked out a long time ago, if you can take ingredients, create the shape that works for angling, so you can put it on the hair or you can use it as a paste format and that. But I'm using something that, because I know, there's plenty of times, because fish feed in cycles, there's lots of different things I could bore you with, which are actually quite interesting. I find it quite interesting. So outside of that, if fish aren't eating at the time, I want my baits to actually support the invertebrate life, and there is literally thousands of different formats in our waters to kind of fertilise them, so the fish gets benefit from healthy invertebrate life as well. So what we're doing is we're fishing with the best quality. We're fishing with something that's going to cater for things like water quality issues. You're getting fish fed on them, so that's a positive. So your fish are getting bigger for both the angler. So it works for everything. It's just a win-win situation. And the reason we only sell it online is because it's really expensive to make, and we can't afford to put it through the system. Because again, people would look at it and go, "Well, that boilie is £30 a kilo, and they're £6 a kilo off eBay. I'm going to go for that." But that's like, I say, going back to my pie thing. All pies are not equal. If a pie's empty and you've got one full of goodies and saying, well, I'm going to buy that cheap one, well, it's got nothing in it. And that's really where I came from. So that's really what I'm looking for. I'm looking for different balances, because I'm a fishery owner as well as an angler, and I want something that works the best for my customers, my fellow anglers, and also best for the environment. So that's really my standpoint. I suppose in many ways that's Pallatrax all over, isn't it? Having had that fish kill and seeing some of the things I've seen over the years and stuff like that, I do think everything we do should be, we're all ambassadors to the environment. So if we're going to use stuff that isn't actually for fish, I question why, But then, unfortunately, you will catch plenty of fish on a blob of flour full of preservatives and strawberry or mango or whatever, because fish will just pick up out of curiosity. It's more than that. I want more than that. I want those fish to keep on coming back. We had the biggest fish we had at Paddington. I mean, it just had the love of jungle, which is on a yellow seed milk protein mix, and it got so easy to catch. It was a bit of a mugfish, to truth, and it always got caught in the same kind of area on the same bait. But it just proved again that if you're giving them something that they eat, especially when you're pre-baiting things like that, if you pre-bait with something that's no food source, well, what's the point? Because they won't eat it. So I've heard it before. No, that's fine, Adam. No, that's great. I mean, please do, because like I say, lots of people. Poms, yeah, there's an old one there. Can't get that flavour. Like bread, for instance, no food value, but constantly. Exactly, Gary. Exactly. I used to use plastics corn, but not anymore. Yeah, I don't allow plastics down here. I don't think we need to. Pallatrax baits contain no preservatives and use nothing but natural substances and flavours within bait creation. Yeah, well, I think what anglers aren't being told is all bait companies should be DEFRA registered, okay, by law. So if they're not DEFRA registered, and the biggest problem out there with being regulated is the dyes, to be quite honest. So a lot of the dyes are really volatile and they'll stain the skin of fish. So you look at Robin Red. Robin Red was, it's almost like a paprika. If you get it on your hands, it's used in as a pigeon conditioner to bring out the plumage. But what was happening, fish that were feeding on baits full of Robin Red were actually going red. Their stomachs were going red. So what Robin Red of like 3 years ago and the Robin Red of today might have the same name. It's actually a different formula. Because they've had to take it out because of this DEFRA regulations. So a lot of these synthetic colours, they can be used within a pop-up because it's a lure, but they can't be used within. So if you look at a couple of the bigger companies in the last couple of years have really changed. You'll see their colours have really changed and things like that. It's because they're DEFRA regulated and they're doing the right thing. So I personally think we should be heavily regulated because then you folks know you're getting the best product and also we're benefiting the environment. So, but it's like my, you end up, I suppose, at the end of the day, you pay a lot of money for flavours, good flavours and regulated flavours and things like that. I use a flavour house that is steeped in history. And every flavour has gone through that rigorous regulatory testing to make sure it's safe to go into the environment within the fishing baits, and that's really where we are with everything we do. So you end up better bait, better results. Just look at like the Quay, since they've been fishing multiple of them out there, from the results of the company they were using 18 months before or over 18 months to where we were just giving food. And the fish are on it and they're eating it, they ain't caught, and and everybody's pre-baiting and things like that. So it's all cool. So it's not, there's no slick marketing here. I'm doing it. If you think about it, I'm doing it for myself. So okay, there's a bit of indulgence there. I want to fish. I want to make what is the best I can possibly make. And I'm not going to make it for me and then sell you something different. That's never happening. I want to make sure it's really beneficial for the fishery and the environment and the fish and things like that. Other things that might eat it. So I just personally think that's the way we should be making bait. We should be making out the best ingredients, not out of date stuff, or some of the things they're using as binding agents like Arabic gum, and so I use fresh egg, and people say, oh, fresh egg. The reason I honestly believe, Vinny, how you doing, girl? See you soon. People say about fresh egg, but you tell me anything in nature that doesn't eat fresh egg of all different eggs. And then you're going to use a binder which has got no food source. It's a gum from a tree in Somalia that will you mix it in and that will hold it together, but it's cheap as chips to use that. But and people say, oh, you shouldn't be using fresh egg. Fresh egg has always been acknowledged to be the best binder and protein creator, so there you go. Where are we? Still got a few people here. Big ones only come out on a full moon. I know that's one that does my head in, and I'll be shot down in flames by some people, although I've tried to. It only comes out on the backside of a blue moon on a 2:45 in the afternoon once a year, kind of thing. It's like, what about all the other times? It's feeding all out through the other 365 days. It's just that these big fish they become so cautious. They really do. But trouble is, what's happened is we've now got to the stage where camouflage is, it's fooling the angler to thinking that the fish are fooled, and they're not. Like I say, fact, if you can see it, they can sense it. So the bigger it is, the more they can sense it, and that's just a fact. And if you look at carp farming and things like that, how you can teach carp to literally in the farming scenario come up and hit a plate and drop pellet. They're not that stupid. Because if they would, they'd be getting caught all the time. So I just say, where I am, and again, with no arrogance, total transparency. The way I tick, question everything, assume nothing. So if somebody tells me something about a bait, saying that's a really good bait, fine. I'm not necessarily going to disagree with them at all. I can't disagree with them. But if I find out the ingredients cannot make it a good bait, then I'm the first to say that can't be a good bait, and that upsets people. But what can I do? If it hasn't got the profile that is needed to make a good bait, well, you know, just because it tastes good, it doesn't mean it's good for you. The same goes for a lot of cheap baits, unfortunately. Yeah, I agree with you totally, James. You know, I haven't done it for the last few years because of COVID and one thing or another, the shows, but we used to go to shows, the Zwolle show, which has changed slightly now, different location in Holland, and we would, you'd see people, they had literally proper shopping trolleys, you know, the things you whiz around Waitrose and Tesco's and Asda. Waitrose sounds like I go there. No, I don't. I'm little. And they're literally full of these 20 kilo sacks of boilies, and they're all different shapes and different colours. I knew who was making them, but they were paying €20 for 20 kilos, and somebody was making a profit on that of probably a double up. So if you work it all back through staff, what have they bought? What is that 20 kilos of? So you've got to be really cautious. There is no bargains. It's like saying, you know, it's like having, what can I say, gold and lead. All right. So it's like saying they're both metal, and therefore they're both of equal value. Well, gold's got far more value than lead. And it's because of it is what it is, and it's like a good bait will only be good if it includes good ingredients. And so when you've got these, like, you know, loads of people turn around and say, "Oh, bloodworm pellets full of bloodworm." No, they're not. They're not. It's a flavour, a coating, you know. And I think we need to be more honest as an industry, more open, more transparent, to make sure that we're doing the right things, but also we're truthful to the people that are buying the products. You know, that's just me. Any closer to sword? Hydra? No, James, don't even go there. I try all the time. It's not bait, it's fish food. Like crack coffee versus Kenko. Hydra, if you don't know about it, is we'll do the prize now. Is these dehydrated snails that we caught so many fish on. I was bringing in from the Far East, and I can't get them anymore. And it's devastating for me, because I honestly think that was the holy grail of bait for me. Some of the results I had on that. And interestingly enough, people like Rich Shaw and others, we've caught fish that have never been caught before. And that's because we weren't fishing on man-made. I mean, I remember Rich catching 2 record fish from 2 different waters, both on Hydra. One of those fish, which is, I think it was a 38-pound mirror and a 41-pound common. I'm sure, I don't know which one, I can't remember which one it was, but I think it was the 38-pound mirror. That had never ever been caught before. Never been caught before. So I think when you're catching fish that have never been caught before, it's a sign that you're doing something right. Where are we? So sorry about that. I wish 38-pound one. I think it is used in Robber Red now, along with pepper seeds and spices. But what was I'm missing something there? Red beef X used to be. Something you're talking about. Preservation of environment. Well, I think, you know, this is from Nicholas. I missed any lives. Sorry here. Trouble is, when I press this thing, sometimes it all whizzes all around because I'm so illiterate. I'm still vacating this cool side of multiworm. Yeah, I wish. Any lives of you fishing lakes? Your methods come up with a rundown on how to use the products. Any of you? Sorry, Adam, I'm not too sure, unless it's being me, but I'm not too sure what you're saying. If you could say that again. Nicholas is saying, one thing I love about Pallatrax products is preservation of the environment. So important, I love that. And thank you for that, Nicholas, because to be quite honest, it's the one thing I'm really proud of. You know, we're doing things, and it's almost like our tagline, isn't it? Catching lots, but fishing in a really, really responsible way. You know, catering for the changes that have happened within fishing over the last 30 years. You know, how can you still buy basically a kilo of boilies for the same price it was 25 years ago? The only thing that's happened is the ingredients have been cut down. It has to be. It has to be, because nobody's going to produce something to lose. So I think all anglers, and that's, I suppose, here, everybody, I'm sure, are all like-minded here. You know, when you go to a fishery and you see all that litter, you know, beer cans thrown in the bushes or in the water, lying in big bunches stripped off, and you think, these people, they're not anglers. They're the worst. You know, they're just litter bugs. You know, I think as anglers, we're stepping into an environment, and as they say, isn't it? You know, leave any footprints, take only photographs, something like that. And I think that's what we should do. And I think as companies, we should be, you know, there should be oversight to make sure we are doing that. Because, you know, look at the dumping of leads. We're talking now, millions of leads have been dumped into watercourses irretrievably, and we know it's problematic. That can't be right. That can't be right. Because I've had the audacity to say, have we actually thought about how the impact on substrate life, or the impact from like the Echo report? You know, many times I've been shot down. But the cool thing is now social media, I can come on here and I can give you my conclusions and my thoughts. I would suggest do exactly the same, assume nothing, question everything. But if you read the Echo report on lead, or you looked at some of these other things like the DEFRA conditions, I'm not lying. I'm just saying what it is. So I think we don't want to poo on our own doorstep. That's for loads of different reasons. Can you use different eggs? Like, yes, you can. Yes, you certainly can. We used to use that. Shove the moon where it don't shine. My mate got a 40-pounder out last week down the road in Kate. No full moon. Exactly, Freddie. Exactly. There's a lot of old wives' tale. Are your baits steamed or boiled? I boil all my baits. Real old school. Where are we? Hi, Gary. I've got loads of snails. How much? Don't. You'll be burgled. That'd be ironic, wouldn't it? Adam Kirk, is there any live feeds with you fishing using Pallatrax? Well, interesting, Adam. We were testing it out the other day, me and Matt, because this year is the year Podman's going to get his fishing rods out. Because lots of people ask me about doing live action stuff, and I can totally appreciate it. I've got these glasses now with a little camera on. There's all kinds of things in the plan. And historically, up until quite recently, we had real problems with fibre. We didn't have any fibre. We had radio waves, so we couldn't get, you know, a very good signal down on fisheries and things like that. Now we've actually ended up having fibre put in, and we were down there the other day testing it. So without a shadow of doubt, we're going to be doing loads of live feeds this year, more so on the team page. So if you're not a team member, it's free to join. It's a great group of people, because I'm not very techie. Well, I'm not techie at all, to the truth. But we will definitely be doing a lot more filming, a lot more explanation, showing it, you know, in real time and things like that. Would you recommend a run ring or stone straight on line? Where's that? Oh, it's in there. Let me just turn around again so you can see. So if you look there, so I've just got my line going through the run ring. And people say, why don't you use a clip or other bits and pieces? Like I say, going back to it, if they can sense it, I can see it. If I put a boilie stop in my hand and I can see it, why should I be that arrogant to believe certain fish don't have the ability to identify that single item as problematic? So, you know, I just literally have that running. I fish tight lines and I fish running. No other area of fishing. I'm not saying slack line isn't a tactical approach, but it's not a consistent approach. No other area of angling do you not fish a tight line. And it's all about bite detection, drop backs. It's lots of things going on there. Right, let me just come back. So yeah, okay, less is more. That's where I am. I'm looking for really good bite detection. So I kind of, again, I need to be very careful. Hopefully people by now are realising that there is no hidden agenda here. But I just don't agree because of the facts behind a lot of this stuff. Adding all these bits down on the bottom, unless they're giving you an advantage above what that you would have had if you haven't been using them, why are you using them? And that's because I've owned the tackle shops and I've been that person that's literally bought everything and everything. Now you see when I go fishing, yes, I've got different bait variations. I use the boosted hook baits a lot and swap them around like I am with a fly angler or match angler. But my terminal tank. Well, so I basically only fish with one rig, but I always have my braid there just in case. And on rivers, sometimes I fish a fluorocarbon rig, but I tend to fish steam link on the rivers as well. So the winner tonight. So this is Tilly's done the Josh Hyder. I hope I'm saying that right, Josh. Well, you've won that Gripz bundle. So if you can send through to me, so Simon Pomeroy, or through where you sent yes through or whatever, send me your address details and I'll get those out to you this week. So that's Josh Hyder. Congratulations. Right, where are we going now? Check out YouTube channel, Catch More Fish TV. There's quite a lot of stuff I've done on there, but we do want to do some live stuff. It's more for a question answer while live. I think it's something we have to do. You know, we have to show it real, you know, because so much filming out there is super edited, not realistic. You know, we'll blank with the best, but it doesn't happen very often. That's the truth. And I believe that is because we've refined our tactical approach. We're focusing on the bait, so we're kind of in the rig. You know, everything's consistent, like the match angler approach, I suppose. And then we're really, really focusing on where are the fish and how can we get them. You know, as anglers, we'll quite happily sit there and float ledger or fish on the surface. And you know, I've had people say to me when I've been fly fishing for carp, and I've caught a lot of carp on the surface on fly gear, but it's not really carp fishing. And you just think, well, I'm just enjoying myself. I don't really want to, you know, if you don't think it's not carp fishing when I've caught carp, it just shows the naivety and also the bad place, I suppose, that the industry can end up with if people are actually thinking that's not, you know, I'm not being funny again, but fly fishing for carp, there is a real art, real skill to it. It's not something you can just pick up and start doing. So, it's a bit of a funny one. Scouts to get broken into, that made me laugh. Have you got signal on that? Yes, we have. I don't think you're collecting them from your back garden. No. Well, we did. No worries, Anthony, no worries. We do have this source for an English snail, but we don't know what's happened to them. We've tried to get hold of them this year, and they just, you know, seem to have done. I think, Josh, there you go. You said it right. Brilliant. So, just send me a message, Josh, and I'll get that off to you. So, didn't you do that live on video once, fly fishing a court? But I did it. I did it on that. Was it Carp Crew with what was that guy's name? Unfortunately, passed away. He used to be the editor of Improve Course Fishing. Yeah, and he said you're never going to catch him with that, and they caught quite a few. It's like golf, I think, Anthony, a bit like that, to be quite honest. It's once you get used to it, you know, you can get used to it, and it's a real kind of edge, you know, in surface fishing, because you haven't got a controller and you can fish literally, you know, after a bit of experience, you'll get your bait right on the nose of the fish. Sorcery in the garden. No, we found this place where, you know, I was really cool. They were actually for restaurants in London, but they had the snails that were like a meat format, which we were putting in our ground baits. But also we had this snail in a format where we could actually hair rig it as well. And hopefully we'll get that back this year, but we just don't know what's going on there. So right, so folks, I've taken up so much of your time. Let me just move this light, because the final thing we'll do. So, you saw at the start of it, we had. Oh, let me turn that round. That's not going to work, is it? So at the start, I don't know if you remember. For those who are at the beginning, we had the new pills, which are these. Again, it's all about the. No, it wasn't Chris Ball. He's passed away as well. Oh God, terrible. He died really young as well. But it'll come back to me. So these little kind of pills of spirulina or insects, all regulated, all real, the real deal, all high quality for fish. So what I did at the beginning was I put some of the spirulina ones on. Let me try and get this so you can see everything. There we go. So this one here, so there's loads of bubbles in there, so you're not going to get the best. So this one here was the spirulina pills, and this was the mollusk pills. And so you can see it breaks down pretty damn quickly. And if you look at the ingredients, there's some really kooky ingredients in there as well. But what I like is this. You know, when fish get moving in and you get all of this is all goodness, and it's high attract. Because we forget sometimes, don't we? How do fish find our baits? How do fish find our baits at night? They certainly can't see them, but they taste on the water like we smell on the air. And that's for me, knowing those ingredients, that for me can only be an edge. Because I'm not gonna try and deny the science. Kev Green, that's it. Well done, Wayne. You don't win anything. But I can't deny, you know, the facts from fish farming, the koi market, all of these heavily regulated things. The ingredients they're using are right up there. You can't get any better, and they're better. You know, they know so much more than I'll ever know. You know, these are people that do things in scientific labs and things like that. What's the best way to use the pills? I've been putting them in my ground bait, and I've been putting them in bags. So the old PVA mesh bags, I do like using that, especially when I'm on a single hook bait. So yeah, so that's what I've been doing. But I'm sure loads of people will come up with their own little ideas as well. But the fact is, it's giving us another potential, and by using the ingredients, because again, you know, I know I keep boring people, no doubt. It's all about those ingredients. So knowing the profile there, knowing where they come from, knowing who's making them, knowing what's in them, knowing it's actually fully regulated, that means an awful lot for me. I can't sit there and go, you know, I don't know, but what I do know, these are all regulated. So it has to pass a certain grade. Mesh is good, I love it. Yeah, I do like mesh bags, I must admit, especially if I'm fishing a single. I still want something round, and so you can imagine, you know, that you've got your hook bait and then a pile of those pills all breaking down around it and all doing what I want to do, which is basically having a flare of attraction. You know, I'm over here, come and find me kind of thing. So right, folks, I think that's the longest live feed I've ever done. So thanks for keeping with me so many. It's been a pleasure as always. If you've got any questions ever, always feel free. You can pick up the phone and contact me. I can't promise I'll get back to you straight away, but I will always get back to you. Obviously, you can get hold of me on Messenger. You can get hold of me on email. But like I say, I really love these Sunday evenings. I get that chance to speak to people. People obviously can pick my brains. I mean, you know, I'll only ever tell the truth. It just might not fit into the narrative of some other people. But we're going to have some more guests coming back. Galen, we're going to get Galen back on soon. Sue will be down here with me soon, so we'll be doing quite a lot of little live feeds and one thing and another. Lots of filming in planned with carpology and other stuff. So yeah, it's all good in the hood, so to speak. So any questions, just give me a shout. Like I say, I'll only ever tell you how I see it. I don't push anything on anybody. So yeah, have a fantastic week, and I will. You're only saying that, Josh, because you won the prize. Well, mate. But no, thanks for everybody supporting it tonight. It's been great to see so many people on here, and yeah, I'll be back on the team page next week, and then back here the following week. That's how it works. First live from Freddie. If you need any extra for thinking, I've emailed you my question about clothing. I'll pick that up. I haven't checked my emails today. No worries at all. Leave that with me, Freddie. So yeah, good night to all. Have a fantastic week, and no doubt you'll see me about very soon. Stay safe. All the best, folks. Now I can't turn my thing off. Something's come on my button here. There we go. Right, here we go. I'm out of here. Cheers, Justin. Cheers, Anthony. Good night, all.